speaking on independent artists, one of my favorite artists right now is Omar Apollo. I've been
So
studying,
good.
yes, so good, exactly. I've been studying his music a lot in terms of his songwriting, his singing,
Is
and
he
I was going
independent?
through. What'd you say?
Is he independent?
Maybe not now, but he
Okay.
did start
His
independent.
song,
Maybe he still
his song
is.
"Kamikaze" is like always stuck in
Hmm.
my head. The song's amazing.
Incredible artist, right? And I was looking through his discog, and he dropped an album recently in 2022 called Ivory, and I kind of noticed that they called this album his debut album, even though he already had three albums or projects, I should call them, before. And then it got
Yeah,
me thinking, hey, wasn't The Big Day by Chance also his debut project, even though he dropped three albums, arguably better than The Big Day?
yeah.
So my question is, what's going on with this definition change of what an album is? Why aren't artists dropping albums anymore? It seems like people are just dropping projects willy nilly just because, but I think that's also just the ease of dropping album. There's no restraints from
Yeah,
record labels.
yeah. It's always confusing. Like not Kanye, Conway, the
Hmm.
Machine, dropped an album. Maybe it was last year, and he's like, "This is my shady debut."
Yeah.
It's like, damn, I've heard like five albums from you since I started being a fan. And I guess it's up to the artist, whatever they want to call it. But like at the end of the day, we see it as a project. So if it works technically for them to say this is my debut album or my major label debut, might be the difference maker because I guess Chance wasn't signed for a coloring book. He called it a
Hmm.
mixtape, for at least. And there's mixtapes and there's demo tapes and there's EPs, which I believe is supposed to be 5 songs or less, but fuck it, 10 songs EP. I don't know.
It's
I don't know
crazy.
yeah, I don't get why they classify it as what they do. I guess it makes them feel better. Like, oh, I'm gonna market this as my debut album, which is bigger than like what this mixtape was.
Yeah. And the question becomes, is it because they're scared to drop an official album because there's so much anticipation for that? Or is it just by choice and creative expression? In terms of the definitions, right, an EP is 3 to 6 tracks. It has to be under 30 minutes. Your favorite project, our favorite project, Daytona, is literally 7 tracks in 21
Yeah,
minutes, and it's an album, right? An LP, a full length album, is 7 to 29 tracks, between 35 and 60 minutes. But I know that Janelle Monáe dropped The Age of Pleasure, and that was 12 tracks for 32 minutes. So it seems like there's literally no definition, and people can kind of drop whatever they want to drop. I don't know if you think that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I also think because of
I
streaming, that's changed that as well, and also the genre bending we see as well.
I think it's just an artistic choice for
Hmm.
most artists because mixtapes culturally have like a feeling to them. Like when you think of a
Hmm.
mixtape, you think of something like more raw.
Hmm.
So say JID wanted to drop an album where he's rapping over other people's beats and he say it's legally signed off, he can put in Apple Music. It's
Hmm.
still he's gonna reference that as a mixtape because it doesn't have like the transitions, doesn't have that
Hmm.
importance of a album, doesn't have like a cohesive sound to it. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's just all artistic. Their albums, they want this to be this big whole thing. But yeah, you could point with Daytona. It's a short album, but that's like an artistic masterpiece to him
Hmm.
and to me, obviously.
I 100% agree. I think it is an artistic expression, but then the question becomes, how does this affect in terms of contracts, right? Recently, we saw with Drake,
Yeah,
he dropped "If You're Reading This, It's Too Late," which was technically a mixtape, right? But that was just to get out of his deal. We've also seen
yeah.
artists being stuck in their deals with Megan Thee Stallion recently with 1501 Certified Entertainment, where she dropped a project, but they didn't consider it an album. And then now she can't release any albums and she's locked into this contract. And in my head, is it even possible to make a mixtape in 2023? Like, I feel like obviously in the early 2000s, clearly like 50 Cent or Lil Wayne, these are mixtapes. But in a streaming
Yeah.
world, I don't know if you can make a mixtape. You can call it a mixtape, but I don't
Yeah.
think so.
I guess, well, when I think of mixtapes, not like, I don't know how 50 Cent and Lil Wayne like released those. I guess you were getting them like on the street in CDs. But
Yeah.
I'm like, if I'm thinking like Friday Night Lights, or I'm just thinking of like stuff that was on DatPiff and on SoundCloud, I think of mixtapes as something that was given out for free. So Chance the Rapper famously was like giving out everything for free. Like
Mm,
even, I think Coloring Book was, you could find it on SoundCloud if you wanted, like completely for
really?
free. But now everybody can get on streaming services. And I mean, there's AudioMac, which is great,
Hmm.
but people aren't really using any other sites besides their main Spotify or Apple Music. Maybe some people use Google Play. I don't. But yeah, it's like all these things are like you're paying for them because you're paying for a monthly subscription. So they really like have that mixtape feel. I think at the end of the day, it's just artistic. Like it has that gritty feeling to it.
So you don't think it's a bad thing that there's technically albums are kind of extinct now?
I I don't think albums are extinct. And
Okay.
like to your point about like the lack of making money. That's why you're seeing these bloated albums that are over 20 songs.
Yep.
And I'll go back to that Uzi album. I'm sorry. I'm just not re-listening to it. I didn't enjoy my first listen, and it's too long for like me to re-listen again. I'm just not enjoying it enough to have to find 2 songs I like in a haystack of 25 songs. And there are people that love the art of making albums. Someone tweeted yesterday, I think it was Joey Hip Hop, was saying, what's an album that you have to listen front to back to really get it? And I was like, To Pimp a Butterfly, behind me. Like some of those songs, you can't just listen on their own. They make so much sense in the context of the album. You can listen to All Right and listen to King Kunta separately, but say the new album, like Mother Eyes Sober, like you're not just bumping that. It's made for that album.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, it's just who you mess with. And we tend to like artists that create these album sounds to it. And some people like that bloated sound. I literally would, if J. Cole said his album was 25 songs, I would not be happy. And that's my favorite artist of all time. I mean, it's just too much. I don't expect this to be that good.
But that's the new tactic now, in order to get these streams. And I think Drake started that. I think Drake was the one who pioneered that in 2016 with Views, when he made that long album that wasn't seen before as much during that time era.
Good album. It's a good album.
Okay. Wow. I'm actually surprised to hear you say that. I think you would say it was an awful project. I like Views, but
Drake doesn't make awful projects. He makes bloated projects that have some very generic Drake songs. But like, it's Drake. Like, there's amazing songs in every single album.